Which almost brings us on to the point as to what does happen on the training park at Manchester United at the moment. Who's in charge of the training? Michael Carrick has gone in there as Mourinho's assistant, or one of his assistants, hasn't he? And he's new to the business.
Absolutely.
Michael Carrick's just retired as a player, and to break away from being a player, he was playing with these guys up until very recently. That's not necessarily easily. And I'm just trying to think who else is on the coaching staff there.
There's also the addition that Jose made, Kieran McKenna, who is a very, very young coach, inexperienced in respect of the position he now finds himself in. More of an analysis expert rather than actually coaching experience. And you just think that therefore everything is going to be focused on the manager. He's going to have to dictate absolutely everything. You just wonder if that is causing a little bit of a problem for Manchester United as well.
So can a person like Kieran McKenna go up to the likes of a World Cup winner like Paul Pogba and say, listen, you're not getting it done? Will Paul listen to him?
I think it's very difficult. I think it's a difficult position that Kieran McKenna's been put in as an assistant to Jose Mourinho. Maybe he sees a lot of himself as a younger version of what Jose was when he started, and he's given him the opportunity to gain experience. But when you're talking about the magnitude of any coaching role with the first team of Manchester United Football Club, it's not working. It certainly isn't working in the way that the players are a reflection of the manager and the coaching team.
So, simply put, what Michael Carrick is now to Jose Mourinho is what Steve Bold was to Arsene Wenger? A yes man?
Well, for me, it appeared at Arsenal that Steve Bold didn't have much of a say.
Yeah, I agree with
that. If you're just coming into coaching, being an assistant head coach, as Michael Carrick is under Mourinho, how much of a say does he really have? I wouldn't have thought a huge amount at this stage anyway.
No, I think that again, that is one of the problems, and I think that Jose needs an ally, someone alongside him who he can bounce off. I think it's always, you've managed yourself, Gary. It's always nice to have an assistant there that you can confide in, but you can bounce off, and you appreciate the experience and their thoughts on any one situation. I just wonder how much influence those young coaches, and they are young coaches, will have with Jose. It's going to be what Jose says and nothing else at this moment in time.
So if you're a United fan, or because Clive, you do this on a daily basis back in England, Gary, likewise, you're watching the Premier League on a daily basis. If you're a United fan, would you finally tell yourself, oh my God, I wish we had Louis van Gaal back. Oh my God, I wish we had given David Moyes a chance, because it doesn't seem to be figuring out. And dare I say, this looks worse of a scenario than the previous two managers.
I think if you're a Manchester United supporter, you're looking at the nature of the performances of the team, the way that they play, the players that they have, and they undoubtedly have an abundance of ability. As we've talked about, Paul Pogba, World Cup winner, Lukaku, who scores goals freely playing for his country, Belgium, and Martial, who's in as good a form as he's ever been for Manchester United, and yet the performances are disjointed. It's not a free-flowing Manchester United team. It's not a Manchester United team of old that, whether there be 1 down, 2 down, you always know they're going to come back. It's guaranteed that they're going to get a result. This is a Manchester United team that is very fragile, very, very vulnerable at the moment, and it's not playing anywhere near the way that they should be with the quality they have in the squad.
Yeah, and of course, Mourinho will point out the fact that he hasn't been able to acquire the players that he's wanted. He will also point out the fact that actually they've progressed nicely in the Champions League this season. And he will find lots of positive slants to put on what he's contributed to the club. But for me, he still hasn't done the most important thing, which is to bond the group of players. It is about being together and all singing off the same hymn sheet. And I just think that there's too many people with their own little agenda. And Mourinho arguably leads that list.
Let's talk about Ed Woodward's agenda, because we saw him in the crowd. Shouldn't he take some responsibility? You saw the relationship Gil had with Sir Alex Ferguson. They worked together. They spoke about the players. You all of a sudden see Ed Woodward sitting up there. Yes, he's crossed the ticks for gaining financial, grounds for Manchester United, but in terms of football, getting the players, extending Jose's contract, surely someone has to look at him and say, what is going on?
Well, the one thing you do, everybody's accountable for the role that they have. Now, Edward Woodward's role is what? Is it the acquisition of the players that, one, the coach wants? That doesn't seem to be conducive to with Manchester United moving forward, because you're still hearing Jose Mourinho saying, I need a centre-half, I need a defender, I need this player, I want that player. And it's not been forthcoming. Now, is he putting a spin on it to protect himself, Jose Mourinho, or is there a fundamental problem between those two people? Higher power positions at Manchester United Football Club, it would never happen under Sir Alex. He was in control. He had a lot of allies around him who worked in one direction, in a positive direction. It's not positive at the moment at United.
So just being a Jose Mourinho's devil's advocate, a defence lawyer, building on what Clive mentioned, Sir Alex Ferguson had this system, had this little way of getting things done his way. He was the boss until a certain limit. Jose has nobody there. He's going to be made the scapegoat regardless of what. So he, maybe in his mind, is just defending himself and his career and his legacy at United. He's not gotten the players he's wanted, apparently, according to him. Yeah. So would you blame a man of his stature?
Well, I think you have to, stand up and protect your own corner, but you also have to accept the responsibility if you haven't got it right or you've made some mistakes. Yes, Mourinho stands up and protects himself. Does he hold his hand up and accept that maybe he's made some mistakes? I don't particularly hear that from him on anything. And he, as good as he's been throughout his career, he's never been perfect. Yeah. Nobody is. And he certainly isn't getting it right at the moment. Something is fundamentally wrong with the mix at Manchester United, from somewhere between top and bottom. And of course, the Glaziers are the owners of the club, and the tea lady is also part of the club as well. And somewhere through that network, that chain, it is breaking down. Look at the team's performances. Look at the disquiet between head coach and at board level with Mr. Woodward, for example. There are issues there. The question is, how do Manchester United solve those issues? Can they solve those issues?
Here's a scenario for you, and we spoke about this. Okay, they sacked Jose in December, so January you have the whole transfer window. You can bring in any players you want. Bring back Sir Alex Ferguson for a few months till the end of the season, similar to what Jupp Heynckes did at Bayern Munich, and it's working for them. It was working for them last season, and then approach a new manager.
Football's a crazy game, and you can never say never. And even Sir Alex Ferguson, who we know he's had ill health, he wouldn't. I'm convinced he wouldn't say no, given that scenario. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but should Sir Alex be called upon, I think he'd find it very, very difficult to say, no, that's not for me now. I've done my time.
Is he the only person on this planet that can go into United and just rescue whatever's going on right now?
I wouldn't say he's the only person, but I actually think he could do it. I really do. I think, just by him stepping back in there, even if it is quite passively, but he has the title of manager of Manchester United Football Club. I think it would make a huge difference. I really do.
I could see a scenario, for example, of someone like Sir Alex coming back as a sounding board, and an old Manchester United player, someone of the ilk of Steve Bruce, working alongside him, just as a stopgap. I wouldn't say that's a long-term solution, but I could see something like that happening if Jose Mourinho was to be sacked and moved on.